What you are about to hear is not a conspiracy theory, but a suppressed sociological truth so dangerous its original researcher had his tenure revoked and his life's work buried in the archives of a now-defunct university. Within minutes, you'll see the invisible script governing millions of men's lives. A script that explains why the woman you built a life with can suddenly turn against it. Imagine James, 48 years old. For 22 years, he built a life with his wife, Sarah. They raised 2 children, one in college, one finishing high school. Their once busy home is now quieter. James believes the hardest years are behind him. He sees a future of rest and joy with Sarah, the partner he has sacrificed for, but he begins to notice subtle changes in her, signs that their bond is unraveling. The jokes they once shared fall flat. Sarah looks at him not with warmth but with appraisal, and he comes up short. She spends more time on her phone, in new classes, and with new friends. Her words shift towards self-actualization and unmet needs. Then one ordinary Tuesday, she delivers the devastating blow. "I love you, but I'm not in love with you. I need to find myself." James's world collapses. This isn't a scandalous affair, though that may follow. It is something colder, the betrayal of a shared project. She dissolves a treaty he never knew was up for renegotiation. His story is not rare, it is epidemic. And it has a name, the Matron's Revolt. This phenomenon is not a modern invention of therapy culture, but a biological and sociological pattern, documented for decades and suppressed just as long. Our story begins not in a divorce court, but in the dusty halls of the University of Chicago, late 1950s. A brilliant sociologist, Dr. Alan P. Beckman, was funded to study post-war family stability. What he uncovered was so unsettling it destroyed his career. Analyzing decades of data, Beckman found a spike in marital dissolution initiated by women aged 38-45, often after the youngest child reached independence. He called this cluster of behaviors terminal nest syndrome. But in private notes, he used a more damning phrase, the matron mutiny. His theory argued that the female investment in the maternal role was so consuming that once complete, it left a psychic vacuum. In that vacuum, women reassessed their mates. The stable provider, once invaluable, was recast as a burden, a symbol of boredom and lost passion. Beckman's paper was peer-reviewed and even accepted for publication in the American Sociological Review. Then it vanished. The grant was pulled. The journal issue was recalled. By 1961, Beckman was quietly dismissed. His notes were boxed and marked for destruction. Only decades later did another researcher, himself facing divorce, uncover them in forgotten archives. The suppression was deliberate, the implications too dangerous to mainstream. To understand the revolt, we must first understand the prison, the female loyalty paradigm. In the first half of life, a woman's loyalty is not to her man, but to the nest. For 20 years, her identity is consumed by childbearing and nurturing. The mate she chooses is selected primarily for provisioning and stability. During this period, his utility is obvious, his presence non-negotiable, and the alliance functional. But when the project ends, when the last fledgling leaves, the cornerstone becomes just another stone. Loyalty once anchored to the nest shifts. It must find a new object, and in today's culture, that object is almost always the self. Beckman glimpsed this decades ago, but modern data confirms it. The Great Divorce Revolution shows divorce rates among couples over 50 doubling since 1990, despite overall decline elsewhere. Who initiates these divorces? 2/3 of the time, it's women. Studies link the tipping point directly to children leaving home. This isn't the male midlife crisis trope. It is a female-driven phenomenon. The language used is revealing. We grew apart. He didn't meet my emotional needs. I need to find my happiness. The reliability once praised is rebranded as neglect. Stability becomes absence. Provision becomes emotional emptiness. History mirrors this pattern. In the late Roman Republic, aristocratic women left aging statesmen not for new lovers, but for independence. With wealth secured and the empire stable, the nest was empty. Freed from duty, women pursued influence, patronage, or solitude. Stoic philosophers lamented this revolt. Centuries later in Victorian England, women like Lady Caroline Norton shifted loyalty from family to cause, challenging the very laws of marriage. These precedents reveal the revolt as timeless. Robert's story proves its modern sting. After 25 years of marriage, he took his wife to Italy, expecting romance. But when he shared his excitement at the sights, she looked bored. Her sigh cut deep. Is this it? Is this what we worked for? In that moment, she wasn't seeing beauty. She was seeing her lost youth. And she blamed him for it. Her loyalty was already gone. It had transferred to a future self, free, autonomous, unburdened. Robert, like countless men, financed his own replacement without realizing it. He mistook her finding herself for growth, not seeing it as the infrastructure of revolt. The gym, the retreats, the new friends, each step was a withdrawal from him. The cruelest part? He cheered it on, thinking he was supporting her happiness. This shift is not random. Evolutionary psychologists call it perimenopausal zest. As reproductive years fade, hormonal changes spark a surge of autonomy and energy. A woman who once lived for family feels a sudden drive to reclaim life. Historically, society provided no container for this energy. With no roles, no rites of passage, modern culture fills the void with self-discovery narratives feeding the revolt's fire. The provider is no longer needed. The father has served his purpose. Now the question emerges, what are you to her now? If the answer is simply husband, you're on thin ice. The revolt reframes stability as suffocation. Men's attempts to fight it, pleading, promising change, doubling down on provision, only accelerate it. By reacting emotionally, men confirm her suspicion. He is weak, dependent, and no longer inspiring. This is the storm, but storms can be weathered. The only path is transformation, becoming the eye of the hurricane. Not through control or begging, but through self-reconstruction. The triad of invulnerability, core identity, objective value, and transcendent frame, creates a man who cannot be destroyed by the revolt. It is not about saving marriage at all costs, but about becoming unshakable, whole, and formidable, regardless of outcome. The first pillar is core identity. For decades, a man defines himself as provider, father, husband, but these are contingent roles. A downturn, grown children, or revolt strips them away, leaving emptiness. Invulnerability requires a mission beyond family, a pursuit that defines him intrinsically. Whether it's building, writing, mastering a skill, or training the body, it must be something pursued for its own sake, not for others. This is not selfishness, but strength. A man with a mission cannot be made obsolete by an empty nest. He is not a void waiting to be filled by her drama. He is a complete entity, a lighthouse. His presence demands respect. When revolt stirs, she meets not desperation but calm indifference rooted in purpose. It is here the tide can shift, sometimes halting revolt, other times ensuring he survives it intact. The second pillar is objective value. Relationships are built on constant silent value assessments. In childbearing years, provision sufficed. Afterward, the calculus changes. Inspiration, vitality, respect. If a man lets himself decay, he becomes valueless. Objective value demands physical strength, social bonds, and mastery in the world. A strong, respected man is seen as a prize. To leave him becomes not liberation but catastrophic loss. History offers examples. Henry VIII discarded Catherine of Aragon when her value as dynastic mother expired. Marcus Aurelius, by contrast, held frame. Despite gossip of his wife's infidelities, he immersed himself in duty and philosophy. He became the unmoved mover, the philosopher king, unbreakable in character. His wife's disloyalty never shattered him, because his value and identity transcended her choices. That is the essence of invulnerability. The third pillar is transcendent frame control. A relationship rests on frame, the reality you both share. Revolt seeks to shatter it, replacing family project with self-discovery journey. Most men either fight the new frame, appearing controlling, or enter it, becoming irrelevant. The wise man does neither. He acknowledges her perspective without accepting it, holding fast to his own higher frame rooted in purpose and values. This is the language of kings, not beggars. He says calmly, "I regret that choice as I value our marriage, but my path and integrity stand above all else. The choice is yours." He doesn't panic or plead. The burden returns to her. She is no longer leaving a jailer, she is abandoning a king. Often this reframes the revolt itself, making the cost of departure unbearably high. Yet the paradox remains, the only way to save the marriage is to stop needing it. Invulnerability is not about control but independence. Happiness, worth, mission, these cannot be hostage to her state of mind. The revolt becomes survivable only when a man accepts he can endure its worst outcome. Only then does he become untouchable. Only then does he stand as the eye of the storm. Most men fail here. They panic, negotiate, cling, and prove her suspicions. They become drama, dependency, and weakness. This path guarantees defeat. financial ruin, emotional devastation, and loss of dignity. The revolt doesn't cause their destruction, they do by reacting. The man who instead reconstructs himself transcends, he becomes untouchable. Her storm breaks against him like waves against a cliff, unable to destroy what stands solid. This is the hardest path, to slaughter the comfortable life and embrace the disciplined one. To stop being only provider, husband, or father, and to become philosopher-warrior. Men who walk this path, stoics, samurai knights, understood identity must rest on unshakable codes. Their joy was not in comfort but in mastery. Their worth not in validation but in becoming forces of nature. That is the way through. Case studies reveal its power. David, the accountant, reacted with gifts, dates, and pleading when his wife revolted. She mocked him as pathetic and divorced him. He lost everything. Mark, the engineer, faced the same signs but turned inward. He built his boat, ran marathons, pursued his mission. He became calm, independent, complete. His wife's contempt reversed into curiosity. She followed him back into his frame. That is the paradox. He did not win her by chasing her, but by being untouchable. The revolt reversed because he became the I. The triad of invulnerability works not by controlling women, but by controlling oneself. Objective value, unshakable mission, transcendent frame. Together they create a man who is never redundant. Not dependent on her, not destroyed by loss, but complete in himself. The matron's revolt is not new. It is historical, biological, and cultural. It is the storm nearly every man will face, most will fail. But the few who accept the brutal truth and forge themselves anew will stand unshaken. They will offer not weakness or panic, but strength, value, and clarity. And whether the marriage survives or not, these men will not be broken, they will be tempered. This is the final truth. The revolt is not merely a test of marriage, but a test of manhood itself. Will you collapse into dependence, or will you embrace transformation? Will you drown in the tempest, or stand as the lighthouse in the storm? The answer is yours. The matron's revolt will come. The only question is whether it will break you or forge you into something unbreakable. The revolt is not only personal, it is systemic. Courts, media, and culture reinforce it. A man shocked by betrayal finds himself mocked as naive. His pain is reframed as empowerment for her. Divorce courts strip him of wealth, access to children, even dignity. What he thought was a family becomes an arena where every institution sides against him, leaving him isolated, humiliated, and forced to rebuild from ashes. But herein lies the hidden gift. When everything is stripped away, roles, possessions, illusions, what remains is the core of the man. If he dares to face the abyss, he emerges renewed. Many of history's greatest men were broken first. Nietzsche bedridden, Dostoevsky imprisoned, Mandela in chains. Each transformed destruction into rebirth. The revolt offers men the same brutal opportunity if they accept it.